Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Tuesday, it's August 18th, it's 2020, and we have 11 baseball games to talk about here on today's slate. I'm joined by my good buddy, Alan Lem. You guys might know him in the RG streets as Fathalpert. How's it going, man?
It's been going well. How you doing?
Doing good, man. You got all kinds of stuff going on right now. I'm sure you're busy with NBA and baseball going on, so appreciate you joining me, and let's break down this slate.
Let's go for it.
Like I said, 11 games. Pitching's kind of interesting on the slate. We have some options, but it's kind of like a mix. We have some really strong options and some guys that are questionable. So it'll be interesting. But hey, listen. I am making money with stripling right now, so I'm not going to complain about pitching too much because it's 2020 and it's the year of the bats. That's for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, stripling's just getting blown up. We have the Seager brothers narrative going against each other right now. They combined for 5 RBIs in the first couple of innings, so it's 2020.
It is. Let's get into it. 11 games. We get started here. With the Rays and the Yankees, Blake Snell, Masahiro Tanaka. Any interest here in Blake Snell?
I think with Snell, this is going to be his 5th start of the season. We've seen his pitch count really ramp up really slowly. I think we've seen it go from 46 to 53 to 59, and then his last start, he went up to 70 pitches. So I'm expecting something in the 75 to 80 pitch range if things go well. If we kind of take a look at this slate from a macro level, we've got a couple of aces we can choose from. And I think Snell kind of falls behind some of them because of his pitch count worries. So for me, there's a combination of potential pitch count issues and as well as matchup with the Yankees. I think I would reserve him for GPPs only.
Yeah, so before his last start, he said he's going 5. So 5 innings, he was at 70 pitches. He pitched really well against Boston. But if 5 innings is his limit and we don't hear anything, it's really tough to pay 9,500 for him when we have options in this range. If we do get news that 95 is the pitch, the Yankees lineup is a little weak right now. A lot of injuries, so a lot of strikeouts against left-handed pitching. If we get news, I don't mind, rolling the dice on Blake Snell. Tanaka on the other side of this game, any interest in him?
I think he's a pass for me. He's also coming back from an injury. He had a concussion in spring training, so his pitch counts have actually been even lower than Snell's. He's had 3 starts. His pitch counts have been 51, 59, and then 66 in his last start. So I'm thinking probably closer to maybe 70, 80 pitches here is a reasonable expectation. So with that in mind, probably he's going to be a pass for me. I just want to see him stay healthy and kind of ramp up his pitch count before I kind of go back to the well with him.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on Tanaka. I feel like it was more he just pitched terrible against Atlanta last time out. Was just all over the place. Couldn't find command. So I could see him going 5 innings, but again, I still think it's kind of risky. They're going to throw a lot of lefties at him here, and it is Yankee Stadium, so that's always worrisome. Let's talk bats here. Any interest in Tampa?
Tampa, I think even though Tanaka's not going to go super deep in this game, I think for me, I don't have a huge interest in the stack. I think for me, it's going to be Brandon Lowe has been on fire this season. He's got 6 home runs in the month of August, and he'll hold the platoon advantage over Tanaka. So I don't mind him as a one-off. I think Austin Meadows leading off is also interesting. He'll also hold the platoon advantage. But overall, I don't think I'm in love with the Rays stack. I'm not a fan of the bottom of the order. It's not a lot of power, so you're kind of hoping more for sustained rallies and sort of near the top of the order. So I think for me, it's really just Meadows and Lowe.
Yeah, I think if you want to do a 3-man with Choi or Wendell or Yoshi, there's options here that you can play against Tanaka. Choi's 3,300. He's super cheap. So if you want to make it a 3-man and get the cheap bat in there, Wendell's under 4K. Yoshi's 2,400 in outfield. So if he draws a decent lineup spot, he's always a guy that I like, and double-digit fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games. So and Yankee Stadium, that porch in right field. So don't mind some of these Tampa bats. Now New York on the other side, this lineup is kind of banged up, and we're not getting really a discount on the guys that you want to play. Like, Vaught is over 4,500. Torres, Ursula, Sanchez, like all these guys are all over 4,500. Seeing Snell for probably 2 at bats, like I'm probably going to pass on Tampa here, or Yankees. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I think we will see depressed ownership on them. Their implied run total is only at 3.9 at the time of this recording, so that's one of the lower ones on the slate. And just to put that in perspective, we have the Pirates at 3.6, so they're almost on pace with with the Pirates implied run total. So I think you'll see low ownership. They've got, like you said, they've got dealing with injuries to Stan and Judge and LeMahieu all in the IL. So we're going to see this watered down lineup. I'm going to keep an eye on the projected ownership. I want to see what the lineup looks like too. Voit, Frazier, Sanchez, Torres, and Ursula. They've got power, so it's not like they can't do damage against Snell in a couple of at-bats. But I agree with you. I think for now, I'm probably not super high on the Yankees, but if ownership is low, I might roll a couple of stacks.
Indians and Pirates, Carlos Carrasco against Jonathan Brubaker. Listen, Brubaker from the movie Summer Catch, one of my favorite characters of a baseball movie. But listen, let's talk pitching here because he's not a catcher in this aspect. So let's talk Carrasco first. Like, I feel like he's the guy you're paying up for on this slate. When we're looking at the Pirates, they're last in WOBA. They're last in a lot of categories, WRC plus. They're really struggling against right-handed pitching this season.
Yeah, I think the SP1 conversation comes down to Carrasco or Yu Darvish, and I would say that Darvish comes in with better form. Carrasco has been dealing with some walk issues. He's had 9 walks in the last 2 starts, but to your point, Carrasco's matchup is much easier against the Pirates, whereas Darvish has to face the Cardinals. So I think if I had to choose right now, Carrasco would be my SP1. But yeah, this Pirates lineup just isn't very imposing.
Brubaker on the other side of this game, like he did not look great in his first start, kind of just filling in for Joe Musgrove. Like the Twins beat him up a little bit. I will say like the Indians have been a team that is definitely underperformed this season as far as like the talent on the team, but I don't expect him to go deep, and like it's just not a spot that I see myself targeting. Yeah,
he's a X button for me. He only threw 52 pitches in his last start, so it's unlikely he's going to be stretched out here. Some background on him. He's top 25 prospect in the Pirates organization, but he's 26 years old. He spent 2 years in AAA, the last 2 years in AAA, so it's not like he's highly touted. So for me, I think he's getting the X button.
Let's talk bats here. Anything standing out to you for Cleveland?
So we have to watch for Franmil Reyes. He left his last game early with a hand contusion, but I think the X-rays came back negative. So if he's back in the lineup, he's going to be a strong play. He leads the team in ISO against right-handed pitching, and Brubaker is a righty. So I love Reyes in this spot. All 5 of his homers this year have been against right-handed pitchers. Last year, 30 of his 37 homers were against right-handed pitching. So he's definitely shown signs of being a reverse splits hitter. And then obviously if I'm going to have some Rays exposure, I would want to, make it a stack with Lindor and Jose Ramirez and Carlos Santana, who have all mashed right-handed pitching historically. So I know that Lindor and Ramirez are on the expensive side, but I think this slate with no Coors on the main slate, we can afford to, pay up a little bit.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? Like when we're looking, we have a very small sample size, but like this kid so far has like pounded sinkers and sliders to lefties. Jose Ramirez, Lindor, Santana, they crush sinkers. Really low whiff rates. They hit the ball really hard against sinkers. So like if this is what he's going to try to come out and do, like those 3 guys with Reyes are super interesting. Now I will say like Carlos Santana has really struggled against sliders from righties, but like overall, I think this is a good little like 3 or 4 man stack. It's not like the Pirates bullpen is anything to be scared of. So I kind of like it. I don't love it, but I like the pitch data here for some of these guys. And then on the Pittsburgh side, like I'm going to pass. I'm going to trust Carrasco to go out and do his thing here. Like if you're not playing Carrasco and you want to one-off like Josh Bell, I get it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's one of those things where if you're maybe playing like 150 lineups, then maybe you play a couple Pittsburgh hedge stacks against Carrasco, who's going to be popular. But otherwise, there's no reason to really test him.
All right, moving on. We got the Nationals and the Braves. Austin Vloft against Josh Tomlin. I'm guessing Tomlin is going to be like an opener here. Not going to pitch too deep, and it's going to be Nona. Let's talk Austin Voth first. Any interest in him?
He's interesting. I think he's been someone who has shown some strikeout upside in both the minor leagues and in the major leagues. So in the last year in AAA, over a strikeout per inning, and then in the majors, he's averaging about a strikeout per inning too. So it's interesting. Initially I thought the matchup against the Braves is not ideal, but the Braves quietly have the fourth highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching this year. And I know again it's small samples, but they haven't looked great. Ronald Acuna is not in the lineup. We just saw Eliza Hernandez strike out 9 Braves on Sunday. So I don't think Vaught is maybe the craziest GPP play, but again, I think he has more strikeout upside than maybe initially meets the eye. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't go too crazy with my exposure.
Yeah, so like obviously, like yeah, they're in the top 5 in strikeouts, but they're also like top 5 in WRC plus, WOBA. Like again, Acuna and Albies definitely help those numbers, but like it's hard to trust a young pitcher against the Braves, especially in Atlanta. It's going to be hot. I get the reason. Like Alan, like if this dude's 6,300, I'm talking with you. Like I hear you, but like 8,300 on a slate where there's so many guys in this range that have upside too. Like I don't know. Like it's tough. There's a guy that I really like in one of the games that's coming up that could easily get blown up too, but is right around the same price. So we'll talk about him when we get there. Going to the other side here, like this whole like opening, come in, pitch thing, like it's just not for me. Like I don't ever attack the situation. Like we attacked it a little bit with the Rays last year and the year before because the pitchers that were coming in were going to go 5-6 innings, but like I'm just not touching the situation here.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you look at Tomlin's numbers, he's been like elite this year. It's only been 11 innings. Granted, it's only 11 innings, but he's struck out 16 batters, no homers, which is odd for him considering he's historically been someone with home run issues. But they've been using him, like you said, as a reliever. He hasn't thrown more than 38 pitches in any outing this year, so definitely expecting him to be an opener, or maybe even go 2 innings, maybe see that. But again, he's 35 years old, and it's not like he's turned a corner or anything. I think the home run issues are eventually going to come back. So yeah, he's definitely a cross-off. But I want to point that out because I don't want people to think, oh, Josh Tomlin has been great this year, so I want to avoid the Nats bats. I think the Nats are actually in a good spot once they start getting to the bullpen.
Yeah, like Nona's been terrible. So like he's struggling to both sides. He has 0 strikeout upside. So like I love the Nats stack here. Like I think they're really strong. I think Soto's one of the top overall plays on the entire slate. So like he's super interesting. I've been fading Adam Eaton like every slate it feels like, but like if he bats second at 3K here, like all right, I'm in. So what are your thoughts here on Washington?
I agree that Eaton at 3K on DraftKings is probably too cheap, just given his lineup spot. Luis Garcia, I think, is only 2,300, and he hit a home run on Monday. So those are options to open up a ton of salary. I know from a DraftKings perspective, I was toying around with lineups today. Like playing around with even a Carlos Carrasco and Yu Darvish type of lineup, or we'll talk about Luis Castillo later, but like playing with a Carrasco Castillo lineup, and it's kind of doable if you are willing to play guys like Adam Eaton, Luis Garcia, and then there's another guy on the other side, Travis d'Arnaud. It's only 3K against Austin Voth, so they're salary savers in this game, especially on DraftKings, if you want to try and pay up for double studs.
Yeah, like there's a ton of salary plays on this slate, that's for sure. And you mentioned d'Arnaud, has been hitting right in the middle, right in the sweet spot of this lineup. And Again, I'm not afraid to play the Braves here. Young pitcher, hot in Atlanta. Like, we saw this game go kind of crazy on Monday. Don't be shocked if it does it again here.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think I do like the Nats side a little bit more, even though Vegas has the Braves with the higher implied team total. But I think a game stack is totally fine here. Both pitchers are probably a little bit vulnerable, but I think for me the Nats seem a little at 4.8 implied runs. It seems a little low to me, but we'll see. Maybe Josh Tomlin can stifle them for a couple of innings.
All right, moving on. Mets and Marlins, David Peterson against Humberto Mejia. Like, all right, so I was not expecting the Marlins to open up that back area, and we saw the Mets go insane. We'll have to see, like, if we get any news on that. Like, we got news way before lock, so we were able to kind of look at it. And Alan, a stack against Yamamoto, like, every time, and like I feel terrible for not stacking against him this time, but it is what it is. What's your thoughts here on David Peterson?
Yeah, Peterson, again, he's one of these weird cases where, like, I look at his minor league numbers and I'm not impressed. And he skipped AAA, but for some reason he just gets by. Like, he's been solid so far. He's had 4 starts. He's been serviceable. He did strike out more than a batter per inning in AA last year, so his minor league numbers are somewhat solid. But again, I kind of feel like I'm not sold on Peterson, and maybe it's just this idea that he skipped a whole level, and I feel like the Mets are sort of using him out of necessity. But again, people are probably going to see the matchup against Miami and will want to attack them. I just don't know if I'm one of those people that can play Peterson.
Yeah, like, he really hasn't shown any. Like, I know you mentioned the strikeout stuff last inning or in AA, but like that hasn't translated whatsoever to the majors. Like 10% swinging strike rate. Like, here's my biggest issue with him, right? His xFIP and Sierra are almost 2 points higher than his ERA. This dude is allowing, like, he has 6.5% soft contact. Like, everything coming off the bat is either medium or hard. He's on the right side of BABIP right now. He's walking 9% of guys. Like, if he was a guy that could show me some strikeout stuff, like, this Marlins lineup, looking at the data, they struggle big time against lefties. And, like, for that reason, I have a little bit of interest in him. But, like, overall, like, I feel like he's someone that could really regress, giving up a lot of hard contact and a lot of fly balls to righties. And they're going to throw probably 9 righties at him here. So I could understand why someone would play him here. Like, I do think he's better than Austin Vaught on the other, like, but, like, not if that, like, back area is open. The ball was flying in that game. So, and then on the other side, Humberto Mejia, like, I'm going to pass on this guy. Like, he did throw 67 pitches out of the bullpen against this team 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. Like, I know he's 5K, but it's an easy pass.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he did strike out 6 batters in his debut. He only pitched 2 1/3 innings, so somewhat impressive. And the Marlins do like him. They protected him in their Rule 5 draft, so they do see him as a potential starter in the future. But yeah, I don't think there's any reason to play him here against the Mets.
I just don't think he'll go deep enough. Like, could he get out there and get on a roll? Sure. Like, I don't know. This is a guy that played double or single A, like high A ball last season. Like, I can't do it. Like, he's going to throw, I think I read, like, he threw 60-something% fastballs. Like, the Mets have good hitters. Like, they're not great, but they have good hitters. Like Alonso, Conforto, Cano's back, McNeil, Nimmo. Like, they have enough bats in this lineup that, like, it scares me off of the guy that's just not going to pitch deep here. So, I actually kind of like the Mets, but I want to see, like, the whole roof situation first.
Yeah, I'm honestly interested in both sides of the offense than either pitcher here. Like the Mets stack, you said it's they're going to hold platoon advantage against him. Dom Smith is hitting well. Cano hit another home run today. He's seeing the ball well. And, on the other side for the Marlins, again, like, they're going to be 5% owned. Peterson, I agree with you. I think he's going to eventually regress. And, we can probably see a top of the order stack of all right-handers, like Jonathan Villar, Jesus Aguilar, Brian Anderson, maybe Cervelli, and Logan Forsythe at the top. So again, nothing too scary, but I think I would rather play a 5% owned Marlin stack than a 5% owned Peterson or 10% owned Peterson.
Yeah, I get it. Man, like you look up and down this lineup for the Marlins, and like they've just struggled so much in the past against lefties. But like Cervelli gives you some upside. Aguilar gives you some upside. Like I completely get it. Like I don't want to sidetrack, but Fernando Tatis Jr. is just insane right now. Sorry, like I just got the alert that he hit another home run. So guy's insane right now. But yeah, like I get it. Forsythe throughout his career has been better against lefties, but it's scary. Like I would want Peterson to have some ownership if I was going to do that.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, if he's not going to get any ownership, then you're not really getting a ton of leverage. So I agree with that.
Mariners, Dodgers, Marco Gonzalez against Tony Gonsolin. Any interest here in Marco Gonzalez?
I don't think so. I mean, the case you can make for Gonzalez is that he'll hold an advantage against Bellinger and Seager and Muncy, so he'll have that advantage over three other top hitters. But Gonzalez isn't a pitcher I typically use. For DFS, I think he's a really good real life pitcher, but he continues to post strikeout rates that are like under 20% year after year. So if there's someone that I'm going to chase, it's going to be someone with more strikeout upside.
I'm not playing a pitcher against the Dodgers all year, so like maybe like a top end like guy that could go out and dominate them, but not Marco Gonzalez with his 17% K rate. Gonsolin, man, like I was super high on Stripling on Monday, and the Mariners just pounded him. I'm not usually a huge fan of this guy, but like I do think like we could make a case for him, but he's so expensive. Like I hate the idea of paying $8,700 for a guy that's probably not going to throw over 90 pitches.
Yeah, he only lasted 4 2/3 innings in his last start. Only reached 82 pitches, so he's probably not extremely stretched out. And I agree with you. Like I played a lot of Dodgers today, and obviously Seattle went off, so that's not great. But I think there might be some recency bias too. I feel it the same way. But I think Gonsolin, like I'm interested a little bit in GPPs. Like he's had good minor league numbers. His strikeout rates were always like in the 26 to 27% in the minors, and it seems to have carried over a little bit. But yeah, the price tag, it's a little restrictive. So I agree with you. I probably won't have a ton of exposure, but it's really just a price play.
Yeah, like I can understand why somebody would take a shot on him. I do, but like as bad as like Dylan Cease has been this year, like I see myself taking a shot on him before I take a shot on Gonsolin. But like I'm not going to stack the Mariners here. Like you play a one-off of Nola or Seager or Lewis or Vogelbach if you want to, but like I don't see myself stacking Seattle.
Yeah, I don't either. Again, they did go off on Monday, so maybe there will be some bias there. But I think maybe Kyle Lewis is fine as a one-off. He's hit right-hander as well. All 4 of his homers have been against right-handers, so that's an option. But yeah, I don't think I would stack Seattle.
On the other side, like the Dodgers, like we're gonna get, obviously Turner, Pollock, Taylor being there, Kiki being there, Barnes being there. Like Will Smith is hurt, so like Barnes should catch. Like we're gonna get a lot of righties here. I don't hate it because like you're looking at like the overall pricing for the Dodgers here, and a lot of these righties that are gonna be in there, like Pollock's 39, Kiki's 36, Taylor's 32. You worry about like the pinch hit risk, obviously. Maybe Ruiz is catching and not Barnes here. Like it all be interesting to see what the lineup looks like here for the Dodgers because a lot of these guys are cheap outside the big names.
Yeah, Chris Taylor is only 3,200 on DraftKings, so he's shortstop eligible too. So another option to go double studs. The Dodgers do have the highest implied total on the slate, so they will probably be popular. I don't know. Like I'm usually not the type of person that like goes out and runs to stack the most the team with the highest implied total, just because typically ownership's going to be there. And Gonzalez, again, he's not someone that generates a ton of hard contact. He doesn't walk anyone. Like he's never had a walk rate over 7% outside of his rookie year. So he's not going to get himself into trouble. I completely get the Dodger stack, but I don't know. Like if ownership is going to be concentrated on the Dodgers, I would rather just go elsewhere.
All right, moving on. We got the Phillies and the Red Sox. Zach Eflin against Zach Godley. Any interest here in Eflin?
I don't. I think people may see his last game against the Orioles. He struck out 10, and he was chalked that day because I think there's like no other options. So there might be a little bit of recency bias there. And for me, he's still dealing with home run issues. He allowed 2 home runs in that game. In his career, it's like he's got a 1.5 home run to 9 ratio. So it's just scary thinking he's going to go into Fenway, and I think those home run issues will continue. And again, those 10 strikeouts, it's like completely out of character for him. He's never had like a huge strikeout rate in his career. It's only like 18%. So I think this is a pass for me.
Man, I know the Red Sox have been struggling this year, but I don't know if I can pull the trigger on Eflin here. If for some reason the lineup's really right-handed heavy, maybe, but that'd be the only way. And like Zach Godley on the other side, like he's a guy that gives up home runs at such a high rate. He's put together, some decent starts over the years, but like I can't do it, man. Like he's been terrible here recently too.
Yeah, he's been like a completely Jekyll and Hyde pitcher this year. He's got like rotating good starts with bad starts, and coming off a really bad start. And if you look at his season numbers, it's like 14 innings, 14 and third innings, 23 hits, and 5 homers. So he's also been dealing with home run issues. So it's a pass for me on Godley as well.
So we've had like the Phillies have been like super cheap for a week, and now like they're super priced up here to face Zach Godley. I think that's going to kind of lower their ownership here. What are your thoughts on the Phillies?
Yeah, I do like the stack. I mean, if you get one of those Godley implosions, the Phillies are going to be fairly low owned, I think, even though they've got one of the higher implied totals on the slate. But you're right, like the salaries are kind of restrictive, and we've got Bryce Harper at 5.5, Real Muto at 5.3. McCutchen's been struggling a lot, so I think if you do want to target Godley, you just stack it up and just find the salary elsewhere. But I would focus on Hoskins, Harper, Real Muto, Gregorius, and I would probably play Jay Bruce over McCutchen, which most people probably won't do, but I would rather just take the power of Bruce. And McCutchen's been struggling a lot this year.
Yeah, he's banged up right now though, so make sure he's in the lineup. Like it could easily be Garlick or Quinn. So have to see what that lineup looks like. And then on the Boston side of things, like if Verdugo bats leadoff, he's interesting at 3,400. Like you want to target these lefties against Eflin. Big time splits differences here. So, Verdugo, Devers, Moreland, you can always play JD or Xander. Like if you're going to do like a 5-man and get all these guys in there. But, the lefties, like Devers is 4,400. That's super interesting here.
Yep, I would focus on the lefties, like you said. Verdugo's probably if he's batting leadoff again, probably a good option for optimal cash lineups. But he's at 2,700 on FanDuel as well, which is pretty affordable. And then, like you said, I like Devers in GPPs regardless. Even if you want to just play a mini stack of Verdugo and Devers on the top, I like that.
Moving on, we got the Blue Jays and the Orioles. Nate Pearson against Wade LeBlanc. Any interest here in Pearson?
I don't think so. He's been also dealing with walk issues. He's got 9 walks in his 12 and a third innings. So far, he hasn't looked incredibly sharp. And I know people like to pick on Baltimore, but Baltimore's been quietly a really good team in terms of making contact. Like they're only in the bottom third of the league so far in strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. And so I don't really want to pick on Baltimore as much as maybe we did last year.
Listen, this is the guy today for me. Like, this is my make or break the slate guy. Like, this has been like a top 10 prospect in baseball, number 1 prospect for the Blue Jays. Like, this dude, he has so much potential. Great fastball, really good changeup, like good slider. Like, he has pitches to both sides of the plate. I know Baltimore's been good this year. They've been better. Let's just say that. But, like, this is probably – he faced Miami and like he pitched terrible in that game, but like he's had some tough matchups to get started here. this is the spot. Like, this is the spot that, like, he could go out and dominate a game. I'm hoping it happens. Like, he's the guy that I really love in this range. Cash games, I really feel like in cash games, it's not hard to fit in like two double barrel top end guys for what it's worth. But like in tournaments, I really like Pearson here. Could it work out? I think so. I think so in a big way. So I like him a lot. On the other side, Wade LeBlanc couldn't strike me out, so I'm gonna pass on him. Like, even though like the Blue Jays are one of the worst low key teams in baseball against left-handed pitching since the start of last year.
Yeah, I mean LeBlanc is low strikeout lefty. He has home run issues. Just there's no reason to play him.
Like, yeah, like their numbers against lefties have been terrible since the start of last year. A little bit better this year overall, small sample, but only 4 home runs against left-handed pitching this season. Still better than the Cardinals with 0, but obviously they haven't played as many games. So let's talk bats here. Is there anybody standing out to you for the Blue Jays?
Um, I usually like Danny Jansen against a lefty, but he's priced up now. And, we also have Travis d'Arnaud, at least on DraftKings, at a cheaper price. So we kind of lose that punt play that we've typically had in the past. Not a huge fan of the bottom third of their lineup. So yeah, as much as I want to pick on LeBlanc, it might be more of playing one-offs or maybe more of the mini stacking in the top of the lineup. Randall Grichuk has been seeing the ball really well. He'll get the platoon advantage too. He started off the season with like no extra base hits through 11 straight games, and then something seems to have clicked this weekend. So I do like him as maybe more of a one-off, and then obviously you can play Bo Bichette if needed, but I don't know if he's projected in the lineup. But yeah, if not, Gurriel, Teoscar Hernandez can hit left-handed pitching, but yeah, I think for me the stack is probably less of a priority instead of maybe just more one-offs.
Yeah, Bo Bichette IL. Hernandez is one of my favorite plays on the slate. Like, he profiles amazing in this spot. Like, I could definitely see playing him as a one-off. Gurriel has some really good stats against left-handed pitching. He's been super cold this season, so if you want to trust like the pass, like he's definitely someone you could look at if you want to play like the long game stats. But like Hernandez, I feel like he is in a phenomenal spot here. I have way too much interest in in Pearson to like Baltimore here, like maybe a hedge stack. But outside of that, like I really like Pearson here.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think there'll be a pitcher in that Cincinnati Kansas City game that we can talk about soon that I think will soak up a lot of the cheap pitcher ownership. So I don't expect Baltimore to have a lot of ownership either. Trying to pick on Pearson, but I think for me, if I'm going anyone in Baltimore, it's Anthony Santander. I mean, he's just on a hot streak right now, so if I don't mind the one-off, but yeah, for the most part, I'm not going to stack up the Orioles.
Moving on here, we got the Reds and the Royals. Luis Castillo against Brad Keller. Obviously, like when we're looking at the top, like he is, another name that's like in the possibility of like being an optimal pitcher here. Just pitched against this team like that. I feel like that's the biggest downside to playing him. What's your thoughts here on Castillo?
Yeah, he kind of falls behind the list for me in terms of SP1. Like I think I still rank Carrasco and Yu Darvish kind of neck and neck, and then like Luis Castillo is like a 1B type of option. Like the matchup in the ballpark, it's all in his favor. I just, like you said, typically when pitchers see a team a second time around and in such a quick turnaround, like it's not a good thing for him. I can see like it's one of those GPP only type of plays, but I like in a cash lineup, I don't think I would go Castillo.
Yeah, like I like the upside overall, but obviously I feel like you're definitely hoping that like he pitches better than he did the last time against this team, and like Hunter Dozier's there too. Like that adds another bat that you kind of have to worry about. But overall, I think he's a good tournament play. Brad Keller though on the other side, like I'm not typically like scared of the Reds lineup, but like Brad Keller isn't someone that I'm going to be playing. 17% K rate since the start of last season, almost a 5x FIP. Like he's been able to limit power enough where like even if you don't play Keller here, you don't have to like stack against him. So like this is just kind of a stay away spot for me.
Yeah, I don't really want to stack against him either. I think people are going to see the fantasy points that he's put up in his last two starts, and probably consider him for an SP2. He's a no-go for me on FanDuel. I think he's the fifth highest price pitcher on FanDuel, ahead of Dylan Cease against the Tigers and Tony Gonsolin against the Mariners. So I wouldn't play him on FanDuel, but I could actually see him potentially getting some ownership as a cheap SP2 at 6,700 on DraftKings, because he's averaging 23 DraftKings points in his last two games, and I think that'll stand out when people are trying to punt.
Yeah, like I don't have any interest in bats in this game. Like this overall, like this is a game like even on the red side, like or like the Reds, they don't like you can play Castillo or Suarez if you want to as one-offs. But like on the Kansas City side, like Luis Castillo gets so many ground balls against righties. Like, the guys you want to typically play here are Soler and Dozier. Like, this is just a full, like, if I play anybody, it's Luis Castillo in this game. Outside of that, like, this game's just a stay away from me.
Yeah, on the offensive side, like, I'm not interested. I think, again, if this were in Cincinnati, the ballpark shift would probably be in the hitter's favors. But, yeah, in Kansas City, I just don't have interest. Maybe Nick Castellanos as a one-off, but I don't really want to pick on either pitcher.
Corbin Burns, Kenta Maeda, Brewers, Twins. Any interest here in Burns?
Not really. I mean, he hasn't thrown more than 77 pitches in a game this season, so maybe we see him top 80, but he'd have to be super efficient. So I'm not sure he's really stretched out. He's been good though. Like, he's got 24 strikeouts through his first 16 innings. And I do think the strikeout upside is real. Like, no one's going to play him against the Twins, but so for the most part, probably I'm not going to play him just because he's not stretched out. But I think the strikeout upside is actually real here.
Yeah, seems to be a guy that, if it was a better matchup that we could definitely trust. But you look up and down this Twins lineup and where's the weak spot really? It's just a solid lineup up and down. And then like you go to the other side and you have a lineup that is just really, really bad. Kenta Maeda is a guy that like, I like when he faces a bunch of righties. I feel like this lineup could limit his upside a little bit. But like, I do think he's a top option on the slate.
He is. The Brewers have really struggled against right-handed pitching this year. The Brewers are third in strikeout rate against right-handed pitchers, so I think there is upside for Maeda. But again, he's 9,700 and on DraftKings, and on FanDuel he is double check here. On FanDuel he is 8,800. So it's one of those things where like you could play Dylan Cease against the Tigers for cheaper, and you can argue that there's a little bit more strikeout upside in Cease's case. So just the nature of the slate, I don't think I can get to him. But I don't think it's a bad spot if you want to take some shots in GPPs.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Like I said, I'm kind of with you. I like Cease too. Like if you want to save, like if you want to go in that like range between like Castillo and like Pearson and those guys. So let's talk bats here. Anything for the Brewers?
No, I don't really want to pick on Maeda. Yelich and Hira are obviously in play as GPP options, but I don't see myself paying those prices for them. Like if I'm gonna pay 5,100 for an outfielder, I'd rather just get up to Juan Soto or something like that.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. Like I think Soto's, if you're paying up, like it's Soto or Betts. To go over 5K. Like I like Yelich. I feel like you can play Yelich any slate that you want, but it's probably not the slate for me. The Twins, like, Barnes has given up a lot of power to lefties since the start of last season. If we're looking at the small sample size for this year, like the strikeout rate stuff is great. The ISO numbers are great. But like overall, how much do you trust, 3 or 4 starts over what we saw last year too? I think you can stack the Twins on any slate at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like the Twins and the White Sox, they're the two teams that I think are stackable on any slate, regardless of the opposing pitcher and matchup, because their power upside is just so massive. So if you want to stack the Twins, like go for it. You'll get them at probably low ownership. We'll probably see ownership really congregate on like the Dodgers. That Braves and Nats game, I think, will have a ton of ownership. So yeah, if the Twins come in at 10% owned, that's definitely interesting for me.
Listen, I feel like any slate you can stack this team. The power is just up and down. So, Tigers and White Sox. Tarek Skubal against Dylan Cease. Pretty sure this is going to be the debut, right, for Skubal. Young kid, organization. Top 5 prospect in the organization, profiles to have a good fastball, but really needs to work on his secondary stuff. Double A starter last season, pitched really well in Double A. 1.27 xFIP in 42 innings, 48% K rate with a 21.5% swinging strike rate. The stuff looked super legit. It's Double A. This is a whole nother level. That's super concerning, but I've seen people play worse players at 6,600, but here's the problem, right? The problem is he's not going to throw more than 50 pitches.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I saw the numbers. I saw his track record. It's super impressive. But then the news came out that they're probably going to limit him to 50 pitches because he's not stretched out. So at that point, at 6,600 on DraftKings, I can't play him. Even though the White Sox, have had some strikeout issues. He's just unplayable.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to watch. I want to see what this stuff looks like. I'm not going to lie to you, but Dylan Cease is another reason I'll be watching. I think he's super, super in play here. Again, I feel like in the short season, these teams are seeing each other back to back a lot. He just pitched against this team, and it's always a downer for me, but he's been pitching really well despite his opening start.
Yep, faced them last game, allowed 5 runs, but only 1 was earned against him, and then he struck out 5. And this Tigers team leads the majors in strikeout rate against right-handed pitching, so everything kind of lines up for him to do well here. The price is a little bit higher than I guess the matchup is baked into his price, is what I'm saying. But I think he's an option as as an SP2. I guess you could even play him as an SP1 on FanDuel if you really wanted to. I think it's a little risky just because Cease isn't someone who has a ton of strikeout upside historically. So I think if you're playing on FanDuel, I would probably try and get up to Darvish or Carrasco. But I think Cease is definitely in the conversation as if you want to go pairing him with Darvish or Carrasco. I kind of like that.
This lineup's so bad. You look at Detroit up and down. I'm not worried about any of these guys Scope and Miggy. They could hit the ball and give you troubles. But the best hitter in this team right now is Jacoby Jones, and he's been hitting 9th. They moved him up to leadoff spot. He did nothing. I think Dylan Cease is someone we can look at here, and I have zero interest in the Detroit bats. There's just if they beat me, they beat me. Their numbers are just so bad.
Yeah, I've been playing some Detroit bats even in the past week just because they've been so cheap, and then I would just use them as salary savers. But the prices actually aren't that cheap against Cease, and so I think I'd rather use a lot of the value that we've talked about before I go to Detroit.
The White Sox bats are a little interesting here, but we really don't know what to expect from this young kid. Anderson coming off a big game. Abreu, Jimenez, E5, these guys have really good numbers against left-handed pitching. It's a great large field tournament stack. If you're playing large field tournaments, it's a great large field tournament stack.
Yep, like I said, the Twins and the White Sox are the 2 teams that I'm willing to stack every day. We did see Grandal leave early, so I would think
James McCann,
lefty masher. Shout out to Derek Hardy, but no, I think that it helps the stack, right? It helps make the stack a little bit cheaper because Grandal is just so expensive. But yeah, if you want to stack up Anderson and Moncada, Abreu or Encarnacion with Jimenez and McCann, it's just all power right-handers. And again, we don't know what to expect from Skubal. Maybe he struggles out of the gate, and then we're gonna get the Detroit bullpen for 6 innings, maybe more. That's appealing to me. So I do like the White Sox stack a lot here.
Yeah, like I said, I think they're definitely in play for large field tournaments. When you're looking at this stack, overall, they always have upside, like, and like continue to be low owned like every single day.
Yep. Yep. Agree with that.
Sure, the regular season is fun and all, but only one thing can compare to the excitement of the playoffs, and that is DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports. Both basketball and hockey have entered their respective playoffs, and DraftKings is putting you in the center of the action. With millions in prizes throughout the week, there is no better place to make it rain. Start playing for free with your first deposit today. If you haven't tried it yet, daily fantasy sports are easy to play. Just draft your players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points based off of your player's performance. There's no better way to put your sports knowledge to the test than to compete for millions of dollars in prizes throughout the week. But if daily fantasy isn't for you, DraftKings just launched Best Ball contest for football season. If you aren't familiar with Best Ball, simply head to the app now and check it out. Download the DraftKings app, use promo code GRIND to play free with your first deposit today. Compete for millions of dollars in total prizes up for grabs this week. That's promo code GRIND to get a shot at millions of dollars in prizes all week long, only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. We finish it out here with the Cardinals and the Cubs. Ponce de Leon against Yu Darvish. I'm kind of iffy on Ponce de Leon. I feel like there is a little upside here, but I'm just worried. Like, these guys sat around for so long. He threw 85 pitches, but that was like, it seemed like almost 3 weeks ago. It's crazy.
Yeah, he only lasted three and 2/3 innings because he wasn't efficient with his pitches. So I think there is strikeout upside. I could see him maybe being used as an SP2 in GPPs because he's cheap enough if you wanted to kind of pay up for bats. But yeah, there are some concerns for me about whether or not he could be more efficient and just go deeper into the games.
Yeah, like, you look at the other side, you got Yu Darvish. I feel like he's going to be pretty popular here. Like, this is on paper a good spot for Darvish. This team, they can kind of go more left-handed, like with Molina out and DeJong out. Like, they're going to throw like Edman and Carlson and Wieters. Like, they're going to throw more lefties than usual, but like so much strikeout upside for Darvish at the bottom of this order. What's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn. Again, I'm kind of torn whether or not he deserves maybe that SP1 title over Carrasco because he's just been so impressive to start this season. 30% strikeout rate. His walk rate is only 4%, which is like half his career average. So his control is just amazing right now. I can see the argument. If you feel more comfortable with Darvish and think he can continue his recent form, like I wouldn't argue against it. We also could see some Wrigley wind blowing in, and that's something to monitor because that's going to be also baked into the Vegas implied totals if you want to keep a tabs on weather edge. So again, yeah, if you want to argue Darvish over Carrasco as your top starter of the day, like I wouldn't argue against that.
Yeah, we're looking at 10 to 13 mile an hour winds blowing in from center field. That's great pitching weather usually in Wrigley. So I think Darvish is obviously, an option to consider at the top. Like, I think that makes Ponce de Leon a little bit more interesting too. Is there bats in this game? Like, there's not bats that I love in this game.
No, when I was prepping for this, I kind of wrote it off as well. Like, again, that Reds-Royals game is very similar to how I'm treating this Cardinals-Cubs game where, like, I just don't have any interest in bats, especially if wind's blowing in. And I think both pitchers are, like, really, really good options. So I don't have an interest in bats.
All right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we're going to get out of here. Give me a guy under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts on this slate.
Yeah, I'm going Corbin Burns.
All right, I like that one. I'm going to go Pearson. I feel like that's super obvious. I already talked about how much I like him in this spot. Over 8K to go under 15 fantasy points. Who's your bust today?
I'm going with Austin Vloth.
All right. That's who I was going to go with. Listen, I'm not playing this guy unless we get news. So I'm going to say Blake Snell. Unless we get news, like, I'm just not playing him. So I'm going to pick him. Give me a guy over 4K to hit a home run.
I'm going Trey Turner, leadoff dong against Josh Tomlin.
I like it. I'm going to go to the same game, and I'm going to pay all the way up today and go Juan Soto. There's a ton of value out there. I was going to take Hernandez from Toronto, but like both of those guys, they both hit home runs. There's a double for you today. Give me a guy under 4K to get 2 hits.
All right, I like Alex Verdugo against Zach Eflin. Probably going to lead off.
Took my guy. I did not expect you to take my guy there. It's okay. I have a backup guy. I'm going to take Kiki against Marco Gonzalez. Like the spot for him. Give me a stack to finish this out here. 6 or more runs.
I like the Nats. I like Trey Turner. I like your Soto pick. I think they can get to Tomlin and the Braves. Like you said, there's going to be some heat in that game. So I like the Nats.
Yeah, I like that game. The more we were going through, like that's a game that like really stood out to me. Man, it's really hard not to like the Phillies in this spot. I know they're expensive, but I'm going to go with the Phillies. It's a good spot for them. So, all right, Alan, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I think just again taking a look at the slate, you'll want to decide who you feel comfortable with your SP1. I think there are several options. I think you'll want to decide whether or not you want to go double studs on 2 pitcher sites, or if you want to trust someone like a Pearson, someone like a Keller. Like when we went through it, like there wasn't, I don't think a clear SP2 that we felt comfortable with. So I think those are really the dynamics of the slate, but the value is there on the hitting side if you wanted to pay up.
I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity to be different at pitcher today. They're like Carrasco, Darvish, Maeda, Castillo, like all these top end guys, like all have 30+ point upside on the slate. And then like you have Gonsolin, you have Cease, you have Pearson, Ponce de Leon. Like there's plenty of options today at pitcher. So I feel like this could be one of those days we see a little bit lower ownership on pitchers throughout. So definitely look at that. But that's going to wrap it up here for Tuesday. Hope everyone enjoyed. We'll be back tomorrow talking some more baseball. Good luck in your contests, and we'll see you then.